Hey everybody, welcome into the My Pets Wellness Weekly Wellness Podcast. My name is Kevin Crispin. I am the Chief of Staff here at My Pets Wellness. I'm here with Jimmari. How are you, Jimmari?
Good, Kevin. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right. Really hydrated, feeling good, you know? Question for you. We've talked once before, and we talked about kind of your past as a vet tech.
Yes.
And you've been doing that for over 13 years now?
Yes.
Okay. And right now on our team, you're taking on a totally different role, and you are the head of our Concierge Center team.
Correct.
So before we dive into some vet tech stuff, just let us know a brief synopsis of kind of what your job is now, what the Concierge Center does, that type of stuff.
Sure. I'd love to. So we answer all the calls that are coming into our location. Mm-hmm. So either you are a client calling for our Chelsea location in New York, or if you're in Florida, you're calling our Daytona Beach location, et cetera, moving down states and sites that we have available. Mm-hmm. We are the first people who answer the phone. We book your appointments, or we answer questions that you have, and make sure that communication gets passed down to the on-site team. And yeah.
Awesome. So definitely a new challenge for you.
Yes.
And I believe you came on and started working with us around the end of March, right?
That is correct.
So right after kind of all of our realities shifted.
Yes.
With COVID.
Yes.
So I know you've done a little bit of work in the office, in veterinarian circles since, but a lot of it's been here in the office.
Yes.
But in all the years that you worked as a vet tech, obviously pre-COVID, talk about how important communication is between you, the tech, and whomever the doctor may be.
Super important, extremely important, because there's key information that doctors need to know that you as a tech get passed on by the client, or even another tech or the receptionist. Oh, Mr. Williams, mentioned this, and this is crucial for the vet to know. So information that needs to be delivered, regardless of how insignificant it may seem to someone, is super important to that vet to know. So we gotta have that open communication at all times. So it could be something like, I started giving him chicken last week, or a chicken diet, and all of a sudden we're seeing some issues that if the vet is not aware of something like that may sound as insignificant as that, well, that could be the cause of the issues that the pet is having. So something like that.
Okay, and I obviously was not in the vet space before now. For anybody who's watched this podcast, I belabor the point, sorry. But I have been working, doing other things around hospitals, watching the vet techs and the vets work. And the way I kind of see it is, at least for a lot of patients, the vet tech is the first one on the front lines, right? Is in there meeting the patient, meeting everyone, and then kind of reports back to the veterinarian. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
And that's where you're going to have your first real line of communication, like, hey, he's been on a chicken diet and now he's seeing X, Y, and Z.
Correct.
Okay. So that being said, in our hospitals and clinics, we have a pretty strict COVID protocol in order to make sure that not only are our customers safe, but our doctors, our vet techs safe. So with that being the case, how do you think that COVID has changed the way that we communicate between doctors and techs?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
And I think that this is something that has potentially changed even for the better. Because
how do you mean?
The fact that we no longer, for a while, we did not have that client presence there. We focus on how crucial it is to have that very thorough communication between tech and client, reporting back to tech to doctor.
Yeah.
And then client-doctor communication, you're not physically there to show something, so you become so thorough in handing off that information to your tech or your client that I think it has emphasized on how important it is, and it has improved communication amongst.
That's a really good spin on it, though, and I think it's right.
I mean, I know that it for sure has made me even more.
When I say spin, I didn't mean it in the negative connotation.
Correct.
I think it's the way that you look at it.
Yes.
Like it's a really positive thing that has come out of all of this. Yeah. And then you've worked in the past with kind of the same vet for a long period of time.
Yes.
So obviously you're in there, you're with the clients, but then you're working with the vet in the treatment area, other ways. Talk about how important communication is between the vet and the vet tech for the larger work culture of the hospital.
Again, very important, because just the scenarios, like I could be waiting on a test result for a client who's already been at, he's in the room, he's spoken to me, he's spoken to the doctor at this point. We discussed what we want to do just to find a diagnostic. So whilst I'm running tests and we're waiting for the results, you may have a tech appointment come in, and then that doctor.
Sorry, just to clarify, what do you mean by a tech appointment?
So a tech appointment would be any patient coming in who does not need to see the veterinarian at that time. So for example, it could be as simple as a nail trim. It could be something that the doctors say, repeated vaccines that we can do as a technician. Obviously, doctor approved first, and then there's some vaccines that are only meant to be given by the veterinarian. So, but in cases like that, when you have multiple patients now going in at the same time, I need to alert my doctor, hey, I have 5 minutes left on that CPC, and then we'll be good to go. And to go back in the room and go over the results with the client. And in the meantime, Fluffy is here for that nail trim, but I also see that Fluffy is due for a heartworm test next month, but not due for a yearly for another 6 months. And Fluffy, let's say, is a young, healthy pet. Now I have to communicate, I have to make sure that I communicate that to my doctor so the client, number one, doesn't have to come back, within a month's period, because now I'm saving the client's time. But also I'm putting that reminder in my doctor's wheel where it's like, do you want us to go ahead? Do you want to take the time, since you have 5 minutes prior to the results of that and being available? Do you want to talk to that client and discuss if they want to proceed with getting a heartworm test done today, for example, so they don't have to come back in a month and we'll see them again in 6.
Gotcha. So even like before Fluffy comes in, you're kind of looking at the software, seeing, hey, when is this vaccine due? When is all that stuff? And the reminders, thank you. And then, sharing that with the veterinarian. And then, you guys, I think you had said last time we spoke, there's almost a little bit of a shorthand language between the vet tech and the vet, or you guys can even just a look or So you've probably worked in situations where maybe the communication was not the best between the vet tech and the vets. I'm assuming if you've been doing 13 years, there's probably been some challenges. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, I mean, that's always safe to assume. It starts, I think, more when you have a new vet who doesn't know you. So I think I touched base on this before too, where I mentioned the importance of, for most veterinarians, they need to feel that trust. They need to see that they can trust that technician, and then there's that mutual base of respect. So when you're new and you're uncertain of someone's skills, then yes, the communication kind of becomes a little bit more challenging.
How do you build that trust?
That's a great question. I would probably have to ask a veterinarian how they felt, where that trust building on me came. But I can say from my perspective, from my experience, me building the trust in my vets is how they treat everyone, number one, and how I see decisions being made. And when you're new, of course, you don't know. There's no prior experience. There's some things that you would know, of course, but there's a lot of situations where there's no one thing done is the right thing or the only thing to do. So when you hear of situations that may have multiple solutions or trial or error things, that trust comes from like, you reached out. Like I love when I see a vet do consults. They reached out to a senior vet. If there's not a senior vet on site, they will call a support like IDEX or Antic that they have veterinarians on site, and they will say like, have you seen this before? I'm thinking of doing that. And just that to me allows me right off the bat to start creating trust in that veterinarian.
Got it. That's a really great answer. And then also in the COVID, going back to kind of COVID.
We're still there.
Yes, we are. You, as the vet tech, you're reading the chart and stuff, and I think it's probably vital more so than ever, if say there's 2 owners, but only 1 owner could be in the back for restrictions, that you are as clear as possible with the doctor so that the doctor can have a conversation with the client with all the most up-to-date information so that client can feel as well informed as possible, especially in a really challenging time.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we do try to give the option. I feel like everyone should have this option where if you're not able to come in, I mean, I could require an appointment for my pet and I may not be feeling well myself, or I may have a compromised immune system, so I'm not able, regardless of what precautions I'm taking, to come in. I want to be able to still somewhat be part of it. So offer a live chat with that client. Like, do the appointment if you can virtually. So the client is in the room and the pet parent, I'm waiting outside in my car for my pet to be seen. I would like to be as involved as much as possible because things will happen or come up in that moment where that's going to trigger me to ask certain questions. And I feel like it allows somewhat of a better communication between that client and that vet.
Okay. I'm going to throw a little curveball at you. You have a pet yourself.
I do.
And obviously, I'm sure that you've had to take her to the vet once or twice.
I have.
Just for your regular checkups.
She hates it.
Yeah, I'm sure she's not a fan. But my question for you is, have you ever taken her to a vet that maybe you didn't know, and you kind of watched the communication between the vet and the vet tech, and that gave you some idea of kind of how the team camaraderie was and everything?
I don't know if I say fortunately for that one, but no, I have not. I have always been able to bring my pup in where I've worked. So I've had that facilitation.
That is a nice,
Yeah. So I'm always a tech with her. So.
Oh, okay. Plus, she probably trusts you.
She does.
And okay. And then during, as you've transitioned right now into the concierge center role, but I know that you worked with our team in New York.
Yes.
And you kind of, you came in, you worked a whole day with them. You kind of went all through the day, did everything that was asked of you, and then kind of went out. As you, especially for our relief techs and relief vets out there, who are coming into a new place maybe a couple times a week, what final advice would you give them, especially during COVID, about how they can best put their best foot forward for communicating with a doctor maybe they've never met before?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have a full-on answer for that, but I mean,
let me get that for you.
Thank you so much. My personal experience, I went in there. I had never worked side by side with a doctor that I had the privilege to work with that day. So that being said, I just was in the mentality that I always get when I go to work and, you know, I'm wearing scrubs. It's like, let's get them, you know, let's go about the day and keep yourself busy. If there's something that, you know, that can be done ahead of time, go for it. But I have nothing negative to say. I had so much fun when I went on site.
Oh, I wasn't,
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I can't even think of how.
It's more about how you approached working with the team that you had not worked with.
Yeah, it's just approached it like I was with a team that they were still my team.
Yeah,
If that makes sense, you know.
Again, just to frame that for somebody who's working relief and comes in, but and says, "Hey, here I am. I'm ready to help."
Yeah, and that's the attitude to have. That's like I would love for someone to just walk in and say, "I'm working relief today with you. What can I do? Like, how can I help you?"
Okay, right, awesome. Well, I think that we can wrap it up on that note. I mean, again, we've been in COVID now for 7.5 or so months, and it doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. So there will continue to be these challenges. So I think your insight is really, really helpful as we continue to kind of understand our new normal. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And if you have any other questions, please visit us at mypetswellness.net. We have these new episodes every Wednesday. Sometimes Jimmari's here. Sometimes other people are here. We're always happy to have you stop by. But until next time, thanks for stopping by and take care.
Thank you.